All right, so welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the iPhone 12 and kind of give 13 predictions about what we think we're going to have, what new features we're going to have, and is it worth upgrading to. So first things first, this is a 64 gig model of the iPhone 12. Like I said, 64 gig model. It does run for $829, so you're not really going to get much of a discount on the iPhones unless you're switching to like a prepaid carrier. Typically, you can get maybe $100 or $200 off for porting, but for the most part, you're going to pay the $829 for this phone, which you are guaranteed at least minimum of 5 years worth of software updates, probably more to be honest, since older phones are still getting updates. That's it for that one. So anyhow, this is a 5G phone, of course. So for those that wanted to, enter the 5G market, definitely the 12. All models of the 12 have 5G. This particular one was released in 2020, so you already know this year another iPhone is going to probably pop up in October again, or they'll eventually release the look of it. It's obviously going to look like this again. I mean, Apple phones typically don't change the form factor too much. But I will say that when you look at this particular one, I am glad that it comes with the thicker sides, because there's a lot of thin phones for Galaxies and they tend to have no identity because they all look the same. But by going back to that iPhone 4, 5-ish look on the sides, it's just a really solid device. I hated the round sides on iPhones. To be honest, I think they need to move forward with this, even if they make this thinner. Which I'm fine with this too. It's probably the only phone on the market outside of Apple phones and a few others that actually has its own identity, and I do like that they're not trying to be like everyone else. And I'm actually not mad about the notch anymore because, again, I still don't like it. I do feel as if it should slim down. That notch has been the same since the 10R on moving up, but I will say that if they slim down the notch, I'll be perfectly fine with the phone. Again, it needs to have its own identity so that people know that you have an iPhone. That's typically why people buy an iPhone. Outside of software users, the average person buys an iPhone because it's an iPhone. So, a little bit about this phone, and then we'll talk about the predictions. IP68 dust resistant. So, also is water resistant, waterproof in a sense. So it can actually go underwater for about 6 minutes and 30 seconds or so. I personally wouldn't test all that. I have run my phone underwater. I've answered it when I'm in the shower, things like that, normal things. But if you want to call that normal, but I'm definitely not taking this underwater for any underwater shots. They do make cases for that you could just put your phone under just to be safe, because you never know what happens. It does have Apple Pay, which you can use Visa, MasterCards on that Apple Pay. I remember originally, years ago, I used to have that problem where my work card would never work with Apple Pay, but it's been years since that happened, and I have no issues now. Super Retina XDR OLED, which basically means Samsung screen. There's a Samsung OLED screens. They make their screens. So until Apple, makes their own, we're just going to call it Samsung screens and its openings. It is 6.1. Now, the other models do have different sizes, but this particular one is 6.1, same as the 10R, same as the 11. So let me just run a game while I'm talking to you about the specs. If I was looking at the price of the phone so I get the information right. Yep. I like being informed in my videos. All right, so anywho, what else do we have here? This is using the A14 Bionic chip. In addition to that, typically each phone goes up the Bionic chip for each year. So this year will probably be A15, next year A16, things like that. Each year it constantly changes. 4 gigs of RAM. Again, 64 gig variant, 128 gig variant, and there's a 256, but they all have 4 gigs of RAM internally for the 12 model. Now, if you're looking for something that has more, I want to say that the Pro Max probably has more RAM than this, the bigger model. I could be wrong, but Apple isn't going to go 18, 10, 12 gigs of RAM like the Galaxies. The software is pretty optimized, plus it's pretty basic. And what I mean by that is you can't really multitask too much on the iPhone. They don't want you to do that because that's when you typically stress your processor, and that's where lag and other issues come in. So they're starting to come out their shell kind of with letting applications be used like Netflix and different ones on the main screen as you're still scrolling through your application or just using your applications. You can still look at pictures or surf the web while you have a little square of Netflix or something playing. But They're getting there slowly. They're starting to become more and more like Android in that aspect, but it is necessary. You can't be the same for 25 years and expect to stay on top. Software alone isn't going to do it. You got to add some features. Well, I'm not going to say software can't do it because they are doing a very good job of that. But, integration is important, but we do need features as people, especially us that actually do recordings on our phones or actually edit or other things. We want something new. Doesn't hurt. If we're talking about cameras, this only has 2 cameras, and they're 12 wide and 12 ultra wide. I'm sorry. Does record up to 60 frames in 4K, and it does record up to 240 frames per second in 1080p. Of course, you can do 30, 60, 120. I don't need to name all that. Up to 240. Front camera is also 12 megapixels. In addition to that, that does up to 60 frames in the front, 120 frames also in 1080p. So 60 in 4K in the front, 120 in the front also. So take that as you want. If you're looking for more frames per second, which for me, I love a smooth video, that's typically what I'm going with. What else is there? I'm only going to talk about 2 more things, then we'll just jump into, is the phone worth it? With the new upgrade coming out very soon. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so just a little tired. This does support 20-watt fast charging. So even if you use a faster charger, like a 30-watt, it might charge your phone, 2 or 3 minutes faster, 5 at the most, but Apple typically caps the charging at 20. And the reason they're doing that is they don't want their phones to burn up. Not that Galaxy phones do. At one point it was the Note 7 bomb, but that was a long time ago. And, Apple had their share of problems with the Bingate situation and other things. So, it is what it is. Manufacturers make mistakes, and they just have to rectify them. But you can get 50% in 30 minutes. And what I do notice is it starts slowing down after 50%, like the typical iPhone, just to preserve your battery. So you're good on that aspect. That hasn't changed. If you've had a 10 or XR, it's the same as that charging since, 3-4 years ago. I don't think they're ever going to go any faster. Or if they ever do go faster, they'll jump up to 30 watt and act like it's the newest thing. So you know how Apple is when it comes to their phones. They act like they're the first ones to do it. They may be the safest with it, but they're not the first. Wireless charging, which wireless fast charger, that'll be 15 watt maximum. So again, I'm personally not using wireless charging, maybe at my computer on occasion, but for the most part, my phones normally charge all the time. So let's talk about it. To be honest, every year iPhones are exactly the same. Now, what I will say, what made the 12 a little bit different than the rest of them previously was the fact that the 12 had the OLED display, Samsung OLED display, basically. When normally the iPhones always had the liquid retina, which is basically a generic LCD, the kind you put in a cheap Android. And, for years, they were charging a certain price for that. So that's probably why this phone this year costs a little bit more than it normally does for any other year, to be honest with you. And I'm not mad at that. $800 something is an iPhone. You're paying for the name, but you're also paying for the software update, software support, integration with AirPods, Apple Watch, all that stuff. So, it's a package deal. Because with some of these Androids, they don't have any of those features, and you are paying an arm and a leg for garbage. It happens. So, all right, with that being said, honestly, the only thing that's going to probably change on the iPhone 13, realistically, is the frames per second. That's it. Maybe different charging. Obviously, the camera's going to be a little bit better than before. I don't care if I get killed. It's just for video purposes. Actually, I don't even want to look at this right now. The only thing I think is going to change really is the battery size, which they have talked about. Maybe, what else? The processor is obviously going to be the A15 Bionic. They do that every year. RAM might go up. I can't say for the base model, and I don't know if it's going to be 4. To be honest, having a iPhone 13, 13 Pro, and 13 Pro Max is good enough. The Mini, to me, was a complete waste of time. There was no reason to pay regular phone prices for something microscopic. Now, I understand that there are people out there that say, I like small phones. Listen, go get an SE if you want a small phone. That's $400, and it's basically that phone anyway, to be honest. And I know spec for spec, obviously the 12 Mini is better than the SE, but we're just talking about the form factor, the size of it. I'm not using a phone that small. This is good enough. 6.1 is the minimum of what I'll do when it comes to a phone. So anywho, like I said, the only thing that's going to be a difference is the screen. I'm sure it's going to be exactly the same. They're not going to make it any sharper. Okay, I thought I heard them. The screen isn't going to be any sharper. Screen size is going to be the same. Battery size might be a little bit bigger, hopefully in the 12. I do hope they bring back the wireless charging pack. There was no reason to take that away because I love that charger. It was like $129. I didn't mind paying for it, and I kept it on my phone and never took it off. I love that charger. So I am missing that with this phone. I just have to use the basic outer box type charger that I have. Outer box type case, and that's what I've been using for this phone. Hopefully the wireless charging will be a little faster. Hopefully they support at least 30 watt fast charging. So the phone can go from 30 minutes to 70%. Something like closer to like what the OnePlus does with warp charging. But for the most part, like I've been saying, I'm a little distracted. I'm playing this game. For the most part, what I've been saying is nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same phone with different software, same form factor. Cases are probably going to fit exactly the same. They'll just change this up real fast, how the camera looks or something like that. Nothing's going to change with the phone, and that's okay. Because for new people, you'll be able to come into an iPhone. You're always going to be familiar with the look. You're always going to be familiar with what it can do. And the way I look at it is, why change what's working? Apple's the only company that can actually keep their phones the same for forever, basically, and do well with it. And that's primarily because even though they had their hiccups over the years, they're a trusted brand. Androids, they change their phones every year. You're going to see a Galaxy with a new back every single year. Every single year. They have to keep it exciting. So that's why instead of working on software, which is, I don't understand why Android doesn't do that, they'd rather just keep doing gimmicky phones to get you to buy them. And don't get me wrong, I'm an Android lover. That's actually my favorite phones are Androids. I don't have one right now. Well, I have the OnePlus 8T, but I don't have one right now. But I still always use a tablet. I can never truly get away from Android, primarily because it's just too easy to be able to download applications, loading music, different things. It's super convenient. This nonsense needs to be synced to my computer. I have to do a playlist to make sure that it syncs to my iPhone. It's a real pain in the ass, to be honest. I'm just going to say it like that. But again, I can still appreciate both worlds. Plus, it's a beautiful looking phone. And even with 4 measly gigs of RAM, all my applications run just fine. Any game that comes out, Diablo or anything, guess what? It's going to run on an iPhone. While typically with Android, you have to have a certain phone with a certain amount of RAM just for certain applications to appear in the Play Store. It'll say uncompatible, which to me is amazing that they still do that in this day and age. But again, you got to blame manufacturers for making cheap phones. So I think that the new iPhone anyway, is going to be the same price as the current lineup. Nothing's going to change outside of the camera, outside of the 120 hertz screen, outside of maybe fast charging, and of course a newer processor. Nothing else is going to change. It's going to be the same phone. They're going to try to make, that whole wireless Qi MagSafe nonsense. One moment. I keep forgetting that I'm in a room with a timer. Anyway, that MagSafe nonsense was a real bust. I don't know many people that actually use that. If they did, you just used it because it was there and it was exciting, but it was terrible. The case never stuck on the back. You're never going to see me with that nonsense. Actually, correction. You will see me with it if I find it at Ross somewhere for cheap for $6. But I'm not buying a $30, $40, $50 ugly leather case just to attach some nonsense on the back of my phone. That'll never happen. So I'll stick to the outer box type replica cases and things that actually protect your phone, and we're good to go. So all I can say is, honestly, the battery life on this hasn't been bad. I was using a OnePlus 8T 5G, and this battery life on this phone actually been better so far. Of course, the OnePlus 8T can charge in 30 minutes, or 35 minutes from 0 to 100. Still same amount, and even when I use it, maybe 35, 40, because I'm constantly using my phone, but it's great. But this does do 30 minutes, 50% in 30 minutes, and then it slowly, steadily charges, but you can still use the phone. I don't always suggest that, but if you're like me and you're always on your phone, you're going to use your phone. So I'll watch a movie while I was charging or surf the web or read some manga. You know, it really depends what I'm doing. So that's about it. I don't really sound too excited in this one. I'm just super, super tired. I've been up for a long time. I was working on the computer and, just tired. Anywho, like, subscribe if you have any questions. Like I said, this year when the new iPhone comes out or when it's announced, guarantee is going to be the same size, same phone, just slight tweaks and differences. The price is probably going to be the same. If you already have a 12, I forgot to answer this question. No, it's not worth upgrading to. It's not. Unless they do something extremely drastic that you need, it's not going to be worth the upgrade. Some people are going to say, a higher hertz screen is worth upgrading. No, it's not. Not for the price point. If that's all you're changing is a higher hertz and a slightly bigger battery, just to adjust to the higher hertz screen, and then the A15 Bionic, which in truth you could use the A14 Bionic and guess what? Nobody's going to notice any difference because it's not a multitasking phone. That's why people have iPads and iPhones and iMacs, because guess what? You need certain ones for certain things because they purposely make a phone weaker than this or a tablet weaker than the computer. In the Android market, you can have a powerful phone that's stronger than an iPad right off the bat. So, again, not mad at the business model. Make that money, Apple, but I'm just not excited for this. Honestly, it doesn't come with anything. I forgot to do that. All it comes with is the same USB-C to USB Lightning cord, the simple books. That's it. Doesn't come with the wall adapter. Never will again. And I forgot what country does give you the wall adapter because they sued them or talked to the government and they stopped that nonsense. But here in the United States, rip off. So anyhow, that's it. And I will see you in the next one.